Well, we have finished the first week of school. This new year, beginning in September, is starting to unfold for us. Now, my name is David Woodall with the United Church of Canada, the Emsdale Pastoral Charge. I was sitting on the porch of a cottage outside of Parry Sound. It was early in the morning. The lake we looked out on was covered in mist. The far side of the lake, it's a small lake, was coming into sight. The sun was warming the day up. I was reading a novel, enjoying the quiet of the morning. The door opened, and the friend who invited our family to join theirs at the cottage came out on the deck. With a certain awe in his voice, he brought my attention to the sun-touched cobwebs outlined in dew, decorating the deck and as far up into the tree as the eye could see. And this began for me an amazing 48 hours. You notice how sometimes it takes a friend to point out something you should be seeing yourself. I often think it is this way with God. We often need someone to point out to us the God we should have been seeing all along. In the midst of the trials and tribulations of life, and we know all about those things these days, we often need someone to point out to us the gentleness and kindness and beauty of life. Later that day, actually it was that night, late at night, my wife and I and the other couple took two canoes out onto the flat, calm lake, and we spent close to an hour lying in the canoes, looking at the clearest night sky I had seen in a long time. The lake was so calm, the stars reflected off of the water. Every so often a shooting star would race across the sky. As I was lying there watching, one line which has been a favorite line of mine since I first heard it came into my head. The size of the universe teaches us about the immensity of God's love. And the universe is still growing. So is God's love for us. This was an important thing for me to remember because of what I knew was going to be happening the next day. You see, in the next day, which is always our tomorrows, there will be challenges and heartaches. There will be celebrations and laughter. School has started. The first tentative steps into the next few months of pandemic living are unfolding. Challenges, heartaches, celebration, and laughter, they're all waiting for us in the next day. On that morning when I woke up and drove to Guelph, watching the sunrise over the lakes and hills of that region, I witnessed an amazing sunrise, which is nice when you have to get up that early in the morning. I went to join some family members as they navigated the next step in an ongoing medical journey, which held some potentially life-threatening surgery. There was nervousness, and the information received had left people scared. Sometimes in our life, we need the immense love of God to surround us. God laid his hand on Abram's shoulder. This was before he changed his name to Abraham. It's all recorded in Genesis. God said, I want you to move on. Life changes. I want you to remember the remarkable love I have for you. I want you to remember that I'm with you in the good times and in the bad times, in times of life and in times of death. I want you to go to a new land. Leave this place behind. And this new land is a land of promise and hope. Take all your riches and your possessions with you. I have blessed you with many things. These things that I have given you will launch you into life in a new way. Your descendants will be as many as the stars in the sky. They will be as many as the grains of sand on the beach. These words from Genesis. When Abram was 75 years old, he started out from Haran as the Lord had told him to do, and Lot went with him. Abram took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the wealth they had acquired in Haran, and they started out for the land of Canaan. They were out fishing on the lake. Yet another unsuccessful fishing venture. A stranger stood on the shore. For these disciples, the followers of Jesus. Now, disciples is our word, not theirs. Things had fallen apart. They had returned back to their old ways of life, doing all the old things they used to do, using all the talents they had accumulated over a lifetime. Only this time none of it worked. They used all the tricks of the trade, only they weren't catching any fish. And then a stranger on the shore yelled out to them, "Throw your nets on the other side of the boat." The ancient hand of God reached out through this unrecognized stranger and laid a firm grip on the shoulders of the disciples. The old ways don't work anymore, no matter how hard you try. Life changes. I want you to move on. I want you to take my story out to the whole world. I want you to love kindness and seek justice and walk humbly with God. And then this unrecognized stranger did amongst the most wonderful and practical things you can ever do for another person. He gave them breakfast and sent them, in some way they didn't understand, into the world with a remarkable story of an unrecognized stranger on the seashore, Jesus, the risen Christ. And this Christ, this ancient hand of God, comes and lays a hand on your shoulder and my shoulder, which with a message that continues to resonate in our lives and is reflected in the eyes of our neighbor and the love for the community and the world that we have. Go to this new land as you emerge from this pandemic, as you walk into new ways, as you seek what the new possibilities are tomorrow. Know that the ancient hand of God lies on our shoulders and pushes us forward. Take my message out to the whole world. Take my love and weave it deep into your life. Take my hope and share it with your children. Behold, I'm making all things new. Enter this new age, this new world, this post-pandemic world that we're beginning to build. Enter this new age, loving kindness and seeking justice and walking humbly with God and with our neighbors and with each other and with ourselves. This life we live is being created and recreated every day. It looks something like the old life of yesterday, but it's different. It's new today. It's a bit like Abram moving on, taking all his riches and possessions with him. So the tent and the bed still look the same, but it's a new place that he's going to. Everything is different. We move from our parents who looked out on the stars to our children who now live amongst the stars. You know, our children have never known a time when Star Trek doesn't exist. We move from a time when our parents were thrilled with a camera, which took colored pictures, to a time when our children enter chat rooms at the push of a button and chat with people from all corners of the earth. We move from a time when a computer filled a whole room to a time when an even more powerful computer slips inside of our pockets. It is a new world. The ancient hand of God is leading us into this new world. It is as if God is saying to us, I want you to move on. Life changes. I want you to go to a new land. It's a land of promise and hope. Take all your riches and possessions with you. I've blessed you with many things. These things that I have given you will launch you into a new way in a new age. Your descendants will be as many as the stars in the sky. They will be as many as the grains of sand on the beach. And always remember the remarkable love I have for you. I will never leave you alone. I want you to remember that I'm with you in the good times and in the bad times, in times of life and in times of death. So today the journey begins. We move forward into a new world, a new life. But we are not alone. Thanks be to God.